Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today I'm asking the question, is artificial intelligence going to lead to mass incarceration? And I think you guys are going to find this interesting. Now, what I am talking about here is predictive policing tools. Now, these are algorithms that are designed to predict violent crime and the likelihood of somebody committing a crime in the future. Now, a letter published earlier this month basically has artificial intelligence experts from MIT, Harvard, Princeton, NYU, UC Berkeley, and Columbia basically spoke out against this. And I quote from them: "When it comes to predicting violence, risk assessments offer more magical thinking than helpful forecasting. Algorithmic assessments are touted as being more objective and accurate than judges in predicting future violence. Across the political spectrum, these tools have become the darling of bail reform, but their success rests on the hope that risk assessments can be a valuable course corrector for judges." But here's the thing. These tools actually have a tendency to overestimate accused people's risk of violence when in fact the likelihood of crime, according to statistics, basically is very small. Now, according to this op-ed, 94% of people accused of a crime in Washington, D.C. are released, and only 2% of those people are arrested for violent crime afterwards, which is way off from the predictive analytics of these risk assessments. And I quote again: "The tools give judges recommendations that make future violence seem more predictable and more certain than it actually is. In this process, risk assessments may perpetuate the misconception and fears that drive mass incarceration." Now, the tool that they're talking about here is one called Public Safety Assessment, which, like many other of its competing tools, like its competitors, basically looks through all of this, looks through all the numbers and the figures of a person based on criminal history and personal characteristics. And this tool is designed to flag a person as a candidate for new violent criminal activity or not, depending on what this thing finds in their past, their arrest record, and all of that. Now, for basically this technology to be accurate, experts say that it should be able to predict most people at near zero risk, because that's usually the recidivism rate. And so I quote, "Finally, again, instead, the PSA, the Public Safety Assessment tool, sacrifices accuracy for the sake of making questionable distinctions among people who all have a low, indeterminate, or incalculable likelihood of violence." And I think this is something that we really need to discuss here, because I've mentioned before that the one place where artificial intelligence falls down is the intuitive nature that a human has. And so you can basically look at somebody and get a better sense, let's say, of who they are, unless they're, let's say, a master liar, and I understand there's going to be people in the system that continuously repeat crimes. Maybe they just like being in prison. Maybe that's just who they are. Maybe that's their life experience. Whatever that is, there are going to be those people. But I think for the vast majority, and studies and statistics have shown this, overwhelmingly, somebody that goes to jail never wants to go to jail again. And quite frankly, I never want to go to jail. And I wouldn't want to go to jail again if I ever did, God forbid. So I think it's actually rather interesting, because now, as we are applying technology, artificial intelligence, to make dispassionate calculations, we may have a problem here with the artificial intelligence making recommendations that more people than not should really go into jail, because quite frankly, the artificial intelligence can't see what is in a person's heart, if you will. And I think a human would have probably a better chance of discerning that. This is not the only time we've seen artificial intelligence in law enforcement and government as well. The country of Estonia is spinning up an artificial intelligence judge to make decisions based on land disputes and some other facts and figures type cases for litigation, in the hopes of getting through the backlog of their judicial system. So I think that's a very interesting concept, but as we are talking about this specifically, one of those things that we have to look at is, how do we effectively police crime? How do we effectively ensure that we are making sure that our streets are safe, and that those people that need to be in jail should be in jail, or if they have a higher likelihood, legitimately a higher likelihood of committing a crime again, what are we doing with that? And if the artificial intelligence is saying overwhelmingly, to a good chunk, 2% versus 30% here, have a chance of recommitting a crime, I think that's a very serious issue. And as law enforcement is leaning more and more on things like artificial intelligence, not just for this, but facial recognition from companies like Amazon and their recognition system that has a very high false positive rate, we are actually ending up relying on technology that may not necessarily be giving us the whole picture, and I think that's a bit of a problem. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.